Apparently, you guys love when I lose brain cells ranking creepy gaming stuff, because my last video did way better than it had any right to. So I figured we'd crank it up a notch. This time I'm ranking some of the weirdest creepy Easter eggs and hidden secrets across a bunch of games. And yeah, quick refresher on the ranking system. This time there's Nightmare Fuel, disturbing, creepy, strange, goofy, and dumb. Also guys, I am working on a bigger video, iceberg. But I didn't want to leave y'all without an upload for too long, so I did this on the side. Alright, with that out of the way, let's start off with one of the most infamous, Easter eggs, kinda. Because obviously I gotta start off with a FNAF one. So this one's a classic. Back when the first game came out, people figured out you could set the custom night difficulties to 1 night, 8, and 7. A nod to the infamous Bite of 87. Supposedly, if you did this, Golden Freddy would appear, right? Let out this distorted scream and then crash your game. It's a creepy idea and a secret code tied to the darkest part of the lore, kinda. The catch was that this wasn't actually real at first. It was just a rumor fans spread. But it picked up so much traction that Scott Cawthon eventually caved and added it later as a legit Easter egg. So in a way, it's a fake Easter egg that turned real, which is kind of hilarious and kind of brilliant also. As far as scary Easter eggs go, this one's on the weaker side, and before you start typing in the comments, I want to emphasize I'm ranking these on how scary they were, okay? Not how iconic they are. So yeah, Golden Freddy's scream and the crash are unsettling, kind of, but first of all, it's just a PNG. Also, it loses scary points in my eyes for being born as pure fanfiction. It's more of a cool nod to the community rather than nightmare fuel. For now, since it's our first entry, this sits at creepy though. It's more cool than anything, but keep in mind it could get shuffled if we get some weaker or sillier ones later, but we'll see. Alright, so in Sonic CD, if you mess around in the hidden sound test and enter the code 420421, you unlock one of the strangest screens in Sonic history for sure. Instead of the bright, cartoonish Sonic we all know, you get this dark, shadowy, buff-looking Sonic silhouette with glowing highlights. The background's just storm clouds, and the screen spells out Sonic the Hedgehog. It was actually meant as a joke, a parody of Batman with the Japanese, United States boss theme in mind, but the execution is pretty weird. It feels more like you just found a cursed bootleg screen than a developer gag. It's strange, not really scary, not disturbing, just bizarre. It kinda gives what am I even looking at energy, but I mean, it is definitely unsettling in the wrong context. You can tell it wasn't meant to freak anyone out, but yeah, it is pretty creepy. Back in the early 90s, Nintendo Power ran a contest where the winner would get their name hidden in an upcoming Zelda game. The winner, Chris Houlihan, ended up with his own secret room in A Link to the Past. If you trigger the right glitch, Link falls into a hidden chamber filled with rupees, and a sign reads, "My name is Chris Houlihan. This is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay?" It's not scary at all. It's basically a cool dev Easter egg and a neat reward for a contest winner. The only reason it ever creeped people out is because the way you usually stumble into it is through a glitch, which makes it feel more like a hidden debug void than a friendly bonus. On its own, it's not creepy, so I'm gonna put it in goofy. If you found it by accident, maybe it felt a bit eerie, but compared to genuinely creepy Easter eggs, this is bottom tier in terms of scare factor. In Grand Theft Auto 5, over in Sonora National Park, there's this rock with a creepy poem carved into it. 1 is done, 2 is fun, 3 tried to run, 4 called mom, 5's not alive, 6 is Nix, 7's in heaven, 8 won't wait. At first glance, Players thought it was a reference to Freddy Krueger's iconic nursery rhyme from A Nightmare on Elm Street, but technically it is tied to the Infinity Killer, a serial killer mentioned in the game's lore. The Freddy connection might be a coincidence, or maybe Rockstar slipped it in as a cheeky nod. Either way, it's unsettling to stumble across this creepy rhyme in the middle of the desert. So I'll put it in creepy. It definitely has a sinister vibe. It's tied to an in-game serial killer written like a twisted children's rhyme, and carries that creepy feeling of like you weren't supposed to find this. If you're playing World of Warcraft as a human, one of the first towns you come across is Goldshire. Seems harmless, but if you visit a certain house near Crystal Lake at 7 AM server time, 6 children spawn and line up in a strange formation. In older versions of the game, it looked exactly like a pentagram. The kids just stand there. I don't think they move, they just like stare. They walk into the house from Stormwind, stay a while, and then vanish without explanation. Blizzard later admitted it was an inside joke. The kids are modeled after real devs, with one of them being gender swapped just because his name sounded feminine. The pentagram thing, well, it is a pure coincidence apparently, but intentional or not, it's straight up unsettling when you stumble across it, especially in an MMO where almost everything else feels alive and interactive. Silent children forming occult-like patterns in a sheery fantasy MMO. Yeah, that's 6 with people for sure. Not quite nightmare fuel, but absolutely in the creepy category. Alright, dude, this one, okay. If I'm not mistaken, in the original Animal Crossing for the GameCube, if you traveled to another player's town and then reset the console while you were there, the game punishes you with this. When you restart, not only do you lose your items and bells, but your character's face is replaced with the gyroid's hollow face, empty black eyes, and a gaping circular mouth. It's not a glitch, it was deliberately coded in by Nintendo. Usually, Resetti scolds you for resetting, but this punishment is way harsher. To make it even creepier, gyroids themselves are inspired by Haniwa statues from Japan's Kofun period, which were literally buried with the dead. So yeah, when your Animal Crossing villager suddenly looks like one, it feels way darker. And it's a literal like cute life simulator game, so yeah. I'm gonna put it in nightmare fuel. This is one of those things that scarred kids who ran into it by accident, and watching it on YouTube too. Boosting them is bad enough, but seeing your villager's face hollowed out like some kind of cursed doll, easily one of the creepiest hidden punishments in a Nintendo game. This one's kind of cheating because it wasn't really even in a video game, but it's hidden inside Microsoft Excel 95. If you follow the bizarre sequence of steps like scrolling to row 95, selecting then hitting the right combo in the About menu, you'd unlock a secret mode. It's a first-person like Doom-style hallway called the Hall of Tortured Souls. Yeah, the creepy part kinda ends with a name though, well in my opinion. Inside is a trippy maze with neon platforms and walls. At the end of the hall, you see the names of the Excel developers plastered everywhere, and if you typed Excel KFA, the walls vanished, revealing a secret room with actual pictures of the dev team. Now on one hand, it's just a goofy dev Easter egg, but on the other hand, imagine being some office worker in the 90s, messing around in Excel, and suddenly you're walking around in this creepy Doom-like void called the Hall of Tortured Souls. That name alone is wild. It feels like a cursed program that should not exist. I'm gonna put this in strange. Yeah, the name makes it sound darker than it is. But at the end of the day, it's just a quirky dev credit room. Creepy in concept, unsettling title, but it's not really that creepy though. Okay, if you've hung around my channel, you probably expect me to be very biased with this one, considering how much I love and obsess over every aspect of this 3D Mario game in specific, but I'ma try to stay objective. In Super Mario Galaxy 2, if you go into first-person view in the Shiverburn Galaxy, you'll notice something bizarre. Off in the distance, standing in the skybox, are these shadowy, lanky figures with glowing white eyes. They don't do anything, they don't move, they don't react, and like, when you look at them, and no characters in the game ever acknowledge them. They just stand there and watch you. The files themselves don't make it any less creepy. Nintendo literally named the background Beyond Hell Valley Sky, and the textures Hell Valley Sky Tree. So yeah, Nintendo themselves put hell in the file names. The figures even reappear later in the Grandmaster Galaxy watching from afar again. And since they're baked into the skybox, they're pretty huge. The tallest one is over 100 times Mario's height. It doesn't help that no official explanation was ever given. Fans theorized they were tree spirits, or like aliens, or just a sick inside joke. Combine that with the creepypasta about them stalking players, and it's no wonder this thing blew up as one of the scariest Mario secrets. Still, I would say it's creepy. This one's iconic. It's subtle, it's unexplained, and it's downright creepy for a Mario game. The name Hell Valley Skytree alone is pretty like nightmare fuel, but the design isn't really gonna give any kids nightmares, I think. At least not me. Up on Mount Gordo in GTA 5, if you visit a cliffside rock between 11 PM and midnight in-game, you'll see a chilling sight. The ghost of a woman in a white dress, pale skin, black eyes, and a bloody face. If you get too close, she fades away. On the rocks nearby, you'll see the word Jock written in blood. The lore ties it all together, so apparently this is a woman called Jolene Cranley Evans, who was the wife of a stuntman named Jock Cranley. He murdered her by pushing her off the cliff, staging it as an accident so he could focus on his career. The bloody Jock is her revenge carved into the rocks, I guess, or something, I don't know. This Easter egg is effective because it's a straight horror moment in a game not built for horror. The ghost's appearance, the time restriction, and the creepy murder backstory make it stand out as one of the best executed spooky Easter eggs in GTA 5 and honestly in gaming in general. So I'll put this in nightmare fuel cause yeah, the design of the ghost alone is enough to spook players, but add in the tragic backstory and the atmospheric setup, and this becomes one of Rockstar's creepiest secrets ever. In Pokemon X and Y, if you head into a certain office building in Lumio City and take the elevator to the second floor, something bizarre happens. The music cuts out, the lights flicker, and then a ghostly girl using the Hex Maniac model appears behind you. But here's the thing, instead of walking, she just glides across the floor in a frozen walking animation. She passes right by your character, mutters the chilling line, "No, you're not the one," and then drifts off screen, disappearing completely. That's it, no explanation. Again, this is Pokemon X and Y. There's no quest tied to her, like there's no dialogue anywhere else in the game that references her. I mean, there kind of is, but really, like, it's not proven, so yeah. Players went wild with theories. Maybe she was tied to a hidden legendary, maybe only certain trainer IDs could trigger the real event, maybe she was meant for a cut storyline, but officially she's just there, and an unexplained ghost girl in a kid's game, I mean, you know, Pokemon. So I really want to put this in the nightmare fuel just based on how iconic it is and stuff, but I'm gonna put it in disturbing. It's not nightmare fuel, but it's one of the more unnerving Pokemon moments ever, and Pokemon has a lot of unnerving moments, but yeah, this one is pretty creepy. The lack of context makes it way scarier, since your brain does fill in the blanks, so definitely top of this tier. In the Halo 3 mission, Sierra 117, If you go exploring off the main path, you can stumble across something truly bizarre. A hidden family of ape-like humanoids with disturbing human faces. They sit tucked away in a cave, including one holding a teddy bear. They're not enemies, they don't move, they don't have dialogue, they just exist, kinda. Other monkey people can be spotted later in the mission, one peering out from a cliff and another stuck in a tree. They were supposedly dropped in by Bungie devs as a joke, using a scrapped or placeholder model, but nothing about them is explained in-game. The unsettling part is definitely their faces. They look way too human for Halo's art style, which makes them feel wrong and out of place. Combine that with the fact that you can only find them by wandering off the map, and it feels like you've uncovered something you weren't supposed to see. It's very uncanny. I think this goes in creepy. These things are way too creepy to put it in any other tier. They're not scary, and the teddy bear detail almost pushes them into goofy territory, but there's definitely an uncanny factor that just puts them in this tier, in my humble opinion. In Far Cry 5, if you drive around long enough in the northern part of the map, you can sometimes stumble onto a strange and unsettling radio station. Instead of normal music, the station is just pure static, but hidden in that static are muffled moans and distant screams. It doesn't follow a clear pattern, and there's no quest or lore explanation tied to it, it's just there. Some players think it's just an atmospheric detail or an inside joke from Ubisoft, while others swear it feels like a leftover from cut content. Whatever the case, hearing human suffering noises buried in radio static out of nowhere is definitely unnerving. So I'll put this in disturbing. It's not visually scary, but the idea of random hidden torture screens in your car radio while driving through the Montana wilderness is definitely messed up. Okay, so yeah, this one, oh my god. In Sonic CD, the 1993 version, there's a hidden Easter egg buried in the sound test menu that you've most probably seen before. If you enter the sequence 46, 12, 25, instead of music or a normal screen, you're greeted with something way offbeat. A repeating wallpaper of Sonic sprites, except their faces aren't normal. They've been replaced with distorted, human-like masks, grinning unnervingly while wagging a finger. Across the screen, Japanese text reads something like, "Fun is infinite with Sega Enterprises, Majin." Paired with the boss theme, the screen feels straight up cursed, like some kind of anti-piracy warning or a demonic message hidden in the code. The word Majin itself doesn't help either, since it loosely translates to devil or demon. The truth is less sinister though. This was actually just a work of designer Masato Nishimura, whose childhood name was Masin. He tossed it in as a goofy self-insert, but because of the human-like face and creepy vibe, the screen spread around the internet as one of the earliest Sonic creepypastas. So yeah, I'll put this in disturbing. Even though the intention was lighthearted, the way it looks and sounds in the US version of the game is just unsettling. It's almost nightmare fuel, and one of those things that feels too out of place and wrong for its game, which is why people still talk about it to this day. Call of Duty World at War already has one of the darkest vibes in this series. I mean, we already talked about this game in my channel, so yeah, you already know. The campaign is brutal, the atmosphere is gritty, and then you have the Nazi zombies on top of that. But players back in the day started reporting something weird. Ghosts hidden in the maps. On Asylum, people claimed they heard a girl crying, chains rattling, whispers in bathrooms, and even a piano playing behind locked doors. Varrock takes it further. You can hear sobbing screams and even drilling noises in the dentist's share room that end with a man screaming. Shino Numa has kids singing nursery rhymes, and Dura Reese has like whispers and dog whimpers and children's voices. Whether you call them ghosts, spirits, or just creepy Easter eggs, they added this haunted, liminal vibe to the game that stuck with people for a long time. So I'll put this in like disturbing. Yeah, they're creepy as hell, and also one of the best examples of how COD Zombies built its disturbing atmosphere, so yeah. In Super Mario 3D Land, there's a weird hidden figure that players call the Trick Teresa Gold Ghost. You can spot it in the Ghost House level of World 4-4, right at the end of the stage near the flagpole. If you stand still by the fence for about 30 seconds, a strange pale figure with hollow black eyes slowly fades into the background skybox. It doesn't like attack or interact with Mario, obviously. I mean, why would Nintendo make it do that? And it really isn't acknowledged anywhere else in the game. It just sits there staring before vanishing again. The thing that makes it so creepy is the total lack of explanation. Nintendo never talks about it, and it serves no gameplay purpose at all. Its design also feels off, like it doesn't belong in Mario's cartoony world, which is the same reason people connect it to the Hell Valley sky trees from Galaxy 2. The fact that it shows up in World 4-4 is an extra detail fans point out, since in Japanese, the number 4 can also be read as death, which I already mentioned that in my Super Mario hoaxes video. Yeah, this goes in creepy. This doesn't reach full-on nightmare feel, but it's definitely unsettling. The human-like eyes, the way it lingers in silence, and the fact that you only notice it if you stop moving at all. It's like you found something you weren't meant to. It gives off that eerie kind of vibe and energy. Yume Nikki is already a pretty unsettling indie game, full of dreamlike areas and weird characters. But Uboa is the one that really burned itself into gaming legend. If you go into Poniko's house and flick the lights, there's only a 1 in 64 chance this thing shows up. Instead of Poniko, you're greeted by this static white face with an empty smile, and the whole room distorts while this loud droning noise kicks in. I'm just gonna play it, yeah. I think this is nightmare fuel rightfully. What makes it so creepy is that you can't escape. Interacting with Uboa just dumps you into an endless void known as Uboa's trap. Also, W.D. Gaster, you know, the creepy dude from Undertale, I feel like has to be inspired by Uboa. I feel like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure the character has apparitions in other Toby Fox games. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Yeah, this brings back memories. So the Game Boy camera, you know, was supposed to be like this lighthearted little accessory for kids, you know, take silly pictures, slap on stickers, and print them if you had the printer. Pure innocent Nintendo vibes, right? Well, except that hidden inside the cheerful toy is one of the most unnerving screens you'll ever stumble across on any official Nintendo hardware and any hardware in general. If you mess around in the menu and select the run option, instead of a normal menu response, you'll suddenly be greeted with distorted, hand-drawn faces that look like something straight out of a serial killer's sketchbook. Phrases like, "Who are you running from?" or "Don't be silly," appear above them while the Game Boy pushes its tiny sound chip to create this distorted, demonic noise. The clash between child-friendly branding and this absolute nightmare fuel makes it way scarier than it has any right to be, so obviously I'm gonna put this in nightmare fuel. This one is genuinely terrifying because, you know, context. It's not from a horror game, it's from Nintendo, a Game Boy camera. It's a company known for family-friendly fun that just casually slipped in one of the most Disturbing jump scares on a children's toy. That "who are you running from" screen has stuck with a lot of people for decades, including me, and for good reason. Also, without context, this is still like very terrifying. I think this easily goes at the top of nightmare fuel. This one's pretty creepy. So at first, the zombies in Half-Life 2 just sound like they're moaning and garbling nonsense. But players who dug into these sound files and reversed them found something far more disturbing. Those zombie noises are actually human voices played backwards, and when you flip them around, you can clearly hear phrases like "help me" and "oh god." That means the headcrab's hosts are still alive and conscious, fully aware of what's happening as the parasite controls their bodies. Every groan you hear is a desperate scream from someone trapped inside, begging to be freed. It transforms them from like generic shooter enemies into one of the most horrifying forms of body horror that I've ever seen. So, nightmare fuel. The idea they're still thinking and feeling everything is worse than any jump scare, low-key. You're not just fighting zombies, you're putting people out of their misery. So, in Hitman contracts, there's an Easter egg that feels completely out of place in such a cold, methodical assassination game. During the mission Traditions of the Trade, if you explore the hotel thoroughly, you'll eventually come across a bathroom mirror that hides a chilling secret, kinda. Staring back at you isn't just Agent 47's reflection. Behind him, you'll catch the ghostly image of a bloodied man. The detail that makes this moment so effective is just how sudden it is, cause there's no like build-up. It's just there, waiting for players curious enough to snoop around. And for a series that usually thrives on grounded realism, this supernatural encounter hits like way harder. To top it off, you can even kill the ghost, which is equal parts darkly hilarious and unsettling. So I'll put this in creepy. It's creepy, it's unexpected, and totally jarring in the Hitman world. But it's also one of those secrets you respect the devs for sneaking in, cause you gotta appreciate the effort, man. I'm sure you've heard of this one. So in Liberty City, Rockstar's parody of New York, you can hop in a helicopter and fly to the city's version of the Statue of Liberty. But instead of a patriotic landmark, players who enter find something much darker. A giant beating heart chained inside the statue. It serves no gameplay purpose and has no explanation and just sits there pulsing. It's a classic Rockstar Easter egg. It's pretty absurd, it's kind of creepy and funny all at once. But the fact that it's only hidden in a place you'd only find by exploring, combined with the grotesque imagery, makes it feel almost like you uncovered something forbidden. I'll put this in strange. It's not outright scary, but the imagery of a massive living heart locked in chains inside a parody of the Statue of Liberty definitely veers into strange territory. At the same time, it's such a perfect piece of Rockstar satire that it's more fascinating than horrifying, so yeah. Okay, so in Silent Hill 4, The Room, the game constantly uses Henry's apartment as a hub, slowly making it more unsettling over time. One of the creepiest examples is tied to Eileen's room, which you can spy on through a hole in the wall. At first, you'll see Robbie the rabbit, the doll, sitting idly on the bed. Nothing unusual for Silent Hill standards, right? But later in the story, after Eileen has been hospitalized, peeking again reveals Robbie pointing directly at you. It's such a small moment, but it nails the creepy voyeuristic tone that Silent Hill is famous for. I'm gonna put this in disturbing. I always hated Robbie's design, like in a good way, by the way. I always thought it was really scary. Yeah. The sudden shift and the way the doll acknowledges you feels unnerving and like a way only Silent Hill can pull off, with this outright horrifying design. Okay, so this one's cool. So, in Bioshock Infinite Burial at Sea, Episode 2, players get one of the creepiest underwater Easter eggs in the whole series. At the very start, as Elizabeth makes her way towards the tower with the Lutis twins, you can peer into the ocean surrounding Rapture. If you actually stop to look, you'll notice corpses floating beneath the surface. They're faint and blurry, but unmistakably there. There's some theories. Some fans think these bodies are alternate Elizabeths, which is kind of fitting given the multiverse themes, while others say they're just random victims tied to Rapture's grim history, and the game never actually clarifies, which only makes it more unsettling. You know, corpses just silently drifting in the water, never acknowledged. It's pretty creepy, so yeah, I'm gonna put it in creepy. Creepy, yeah, but also like kind of brilliant, kind of cool. So yeah, the Fatal Frame idle screens. In the Fatal Frame series, even standing still isn't safe. If the player idles too long, the game will throw in extra idle effects to keep the tension high. In the first game, bloody handprints smear across your screen as if a ghost is clawing to get you. Later entries ramp it up even more. Static will start like flickering and reveal ghostly faces staring at you from the void. It's a small touch, but incredibly effective. Fatal Frame already builds this horror around making the player feel vulnerable since you can't fight back against most spirits, and these idle effects hammer that helplessness home. Just sitting still is enough to make you feel haunted. So yeah, I think I would put this in like disturbing. It's not a jump scare, but the kind of lingering unease that makes you want to keep moving even when you're too scared to. In Assassin's Creed 2, most players expected to find secret tombs, cryptic puzzles, and hidden treasures, not a full-on sea monster. So while exploring the Santa Maria Church in Venice, the player eventually reaches a half-flooded chamber. After pulling a lever, if you pause and veer into the murky water, you'll spot the massive silhouette of a giant squid lurking just below. The first glimpse is unsettling enough, but try pulling the lever again and one of its tentacles will suddenly lash out, swiping at the player. It doesn't damage you, but it's such a startling and random moment that many players instinctively bolted out of the area. It's a strange little Easter egg in a game that usually keeps its mysteries grounded in history, which makes it hit even harder when it happens. I'll put this in strange because it's not scary in the traditional sense. I mean, in my opinion it is, but I'm biased because I think giant squids are terrifying. Finding a massive squid in a historical stealth assassination game is bizarre and unsettling in its own way. The tentacle swipe is pretty creepy, but it's more weird than terrifying, so yeah. So to finish this list off, Animal Crossing, is definitely one of the most cheerful and wholesome game series out there, which is exactly why this Easter egg feels so unsettling. So, in New Leaf on the 3DS, if you happen to have a TV in your house and tuned in at exactly 3:33 AM on a Sunday or Monday, you'd suddenly see static before a strange alien broadcast appeared. The transmission is brief, showing a red-eyed extraterrestrial speaking in a garbled, distorted voice. The Easter egg also returned in New Horizons, only this time it shows up on Saturdays at the same time. Fans have tried decoding the audio, and many believe it's heavily edited Japanese, though its exact meaning is still debated. Whether it's just a fun gag or a subtle piece of creepy world building, it definitely caught players off guard, especially in a game otherwise about fishing, decorating, and hanging out with your neighbors. It's definitely creepy. The timing, 3033, is often associated with paranormal myths. Combine that with the weird alien message, it makes this feel way darker than you'd expect from Animal Crossing. It's not outright terrifying, obviously, but it's enough to give your village a touch of horror. Alright, that wraps up this totally objective ranking of creepy gaming Easter eggs. If this video also hits 5,000 likes, I'll keep doing rankings. I'll actually do a ranking of FNAF theories, maybe. Yeah, that's still in the works. Anyways, thanks a ton for watching, for real. Tell me which Easter egg you found the scariest in the comments, and see you in the next video. Peace.